Happy New Year, everyone. I'm excited to bring to you first all about data discussion for the year 2023. With me today, I have Maha Pula, Vice President Global Pre-Sales at Cloudflare. Maha, Happy New Year and thank you for being on the show.
Happy New Year, Barsha. Good to be here.
It's great, Maha. And it's been a few years since we last met in person. I'm really happy to be having this discussion right now. As we start, I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land of Bidigal people, where I'm hosting today's show from, and I pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. Maha, as I said, very excited about today because I have worked under your leadership. Although there were a few levels of management between me as an individual contributor and you as vice president in my previous role, but I've witnessed how effective your leadership is. You've been a disruptor, and in a good way, right? Because I also know that you're very passionate about data and you are data driven. So it's really exciting and I can't wait for the conversation today. So welcome to the show again.
Thank you. I'm so proud of what you've been able to do. I want to say that right up front. And I'm very honored to be on this.
Thank you, Maha. So as we kick off the conversation, could you share a little bit about yourself with us?
Of course. I work for Cloudflare now. I run the global pre-sales organization for Cloudflare, and previously we worked together. And I want to ask, all of those layers in between were not blockers. Right? You just came up to me. You just told me exactly what you thought about things. So I remember that conversation or conversations we had. Prior to that, I've been a career pre-sales person. I did a small foray outside of pre-sales or sales. I realized that my passion is in sales, so I came right back, ranked right back, if you may call it that. Yeah. So all of my career has been in supporting sales and selling directly as well.
Yeah, it's a sweet spot, isn't it? It's very effective role in pre-sales, and where you are at is even more effective because you're at where you make decisions and make things happen. So what. I guess talking about your role, what aspects of your work do you enjoy most and why?
I enjoy all aspects of it, but I like winning the most.
Yeah.
I mean, that is on the execution side. But more importantly, the part that I enjoy the most is future-proofing organizations. Right? I like the part about solving for the problems of today.
Mm-hmm.
But the part I really enjoy the most is to be able to look ahead 2-3 years down the line and to be able to build an organization that can match or that can meet the expectations of those. And sometimes it can be very confusing for people, and my colleagues or my leaders as well. So I have to really pause and bring people along to see what I'm seeing or what I may potentially be around the corner and like to build that. So the part I like is to solve the problems of today, but the one I enjoy the most is solving for the problems of tomorrow and the day after.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing because I mean, me being a pre-sales engineer, I am solving problems for the customers right now. But, I find it's more effective when I'm talking to them and I'm actually selling the vision, not, step one is here. And in your role, I think you're also looking at what customers are going through, but for your organization, what will make, and as you say, you like winning. So what will make you win? And win the hearts of customers and your partners, but also what will actually, make you the money too, right?
Yeah, I mean, or whether it's organizational design, or whether it is investing in enablement, or whether it is preparing for another new, I'd say, adjacency within the product, like competencies, skills. These are all foundational to building for the future. It's not just hiring a lot of people. That's a very linear sort of an investment, and you don't really need a lot of smart to do that. I'm going to sell more, so I'm going to need more people. It's just a very linear growth. But most organizations that have reached hyper growth are not growing, not investing in people at the hyper growth level. They find ways in which to build efficiencies into the process and to be able to do more with less. And sometimes people look at more with less and hear that and they think cost, but doing more with less is smart.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
about preparing that for the future is
Yeah.
is about all of that, and to be able to see how you can design an organization. It's like organization design is a competency that's being taught in business schools as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, we are talking things about data, right? So, um, I guess with everything you've said, what bringing it back to the basic, when we think about data, what comes to mind generally?
When you said, when you ask most people about data, they think spreadsheets. Like we talked about this when we were first chatting about this conversation. Is like they think it's a lot of spreadsheets with a lot of numbers on it, and it's number crunching, and that's most people's view of data. And then
Mhm.
sometimes there's an extension of that, which is reports, right? Reports is a way in which to view the data or data, right? And so that's this one way of looking at data. But the part that I find the most intriguing is patterns.
Mhm.
Is it's so powerful, um, but it's powerful only if you're able to see the pattern in it. There's a conversation I had with one of my previous leaders. Is he would say, "Mama, you connect all the dots, right? And you're seeing a racehorse, and I connect the dots and I see a rabbit. How can you make a rabbit into a racehorse? And I have to." So that's where the connection is. So different people see different things in data that makes sense to them, but that is also because of the scope of their view, right?
Mhm.
So the more broader scope you have, the more data points that you have, it shows you a different pattern, and then you base those patterns and then make decisions based on that. You build organizations based on that. You invest based on that. You divest based on that. When you start to see a pattern, if you make decisions based on the pattern you see today without extrapolating that for how it could be based on other coordinates, then you may miss an opportunity. So it can be, if you're purely using a two-dimensional sort of spreadsheet mechanism, then you're really doing a disservice to data. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, it just took us on a really, really visual sort of journey there, right? Like, it depends on context, depends on how much scope of work does a person or that team has, and then what is the vision that they create versus, the higher up you go in levels in terms of decision making. I think you've got a broader picture, and you can then create even broader sort of, what's next. And so. That's if everything's working well and you've got a team of people, you've got experts like yourself, and you're investing your time and resources, and you've got your experience from what could be as well, and you've
Mhm.
got you've set your path forward, and
Yeah.
then for example, COVID happened, right? And
Mhm.
then you got to course correct. And so how does data, in your role, in context of your role or
Mhm.
Cloudflare or organization, how do you then incorporate data to course correct, especially when you're working, in future proofing?
It's a tough one, and that's why um, decision made database decisions are not. And you've got me saying data now. I can't get rid of it. I can't say data anymore, Barsha.
Yeah.
So that's why making decisions based on data, which is single dimensional, or which is very limited in its scope, is very dangerous. Or it may not allow you the flexibility that you need to be able to turn on a dime. And that's why organizations even find themselves going straight down a path, and then they have to reverse all of the decisions so that they can take down another path. And so I find that whether it was COVID or anything else, the past few years it was COVID, very unique because it was multidimensional impact on an organization or the economy. But there have been smaller versions of these changes or challenges that have governed us, whether it was Brexit, whether it was other challenges or political or economical. Those things are going to happen. That's the norm of the universe. Like, this is an integral part of it. And they say the only constant is change. These are going to be an integral part of how we need to be. The best companies recover quickly from it, the ones that are making very strong one-dimensional decisions based on data that they see today are the ones that recover or sometimes not recover from their decisions that they've made, even though if all things had gone right, they would have gone down the path and been quite successful. But what they were not prepared for is these contingencies that have happened and did not allow the design of whatever decisions that they have made did not allow them the flexibility to do so. So as simple as that is, can we make decisions swiftly to respond to situations in there, and data plays a really key role in supporting a decision one way or the other, or providing an input that says no, you don't want to do this. Product investments, right? That can also be a pretty big a decision that's made on data, and that's consumer data, customer data, customer satisfaction data. So data is everywhere.
Yeah.
We can't leave the home without data.
That's right. Exactly. We carry these things with us, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. In our conversation, Maha, I found, I'm looking at the theme, and I think, definitely start with the data that you have, decision making in, creating future proofing sort of solutions. But I think if something doesn't go as planned, then you got to stop and pause and look at what additional information you have at that point to then course correct, right? And I think successful organizations are those who are very agile in that process and make
Yes.
quick changes happen as things change. Awesome. Thank you, Maha. That was such a great discussion. It's always a pleasure speaking with you. Before I let you go, last question. You're a vice president, and you held that role in different organizations. And from where I am looking at it, it's like wow, I wish I get there one day. What's the next challenge for you? Where to next from here?
I as I told you before as well, like I love data and I love what it can do to support decisions. I'd like to do something more in that space, like operational strategy, go to market decisions type stuff. Like those are things that motivate me, that challenge me. I love being a pre-sales. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy this a lot. But I'd like to do something in the future around operations, because it seems like RevOps and has a significant role to play in the future of go-to-market decisions, and starting to get a little bit of more traction. It has already gained quite a bit of traction with me. Perhaps something along that space. I don't know. You never know.
Wow. Thank you, Maha. Thank you so much for your time. And I wish you a fantastic year ahead. I'm sure you'll be as successful and more. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me on this call.